Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Brewers sweeping the Angels. Magic number getting down to 4 for the division. I believe it's 6 for the top spot in the National League and such. So just 9 left to go here. You got the pesky Cardinals now. You got to go over to St. Louis, and then it's a really weird West Coast 3-game against the Padres, and then beat it back to face the Reds, who are still just a couple games outside. I mean, the Cardinals are only 4.5 out from a wild card spot here too, Brandon. But taking taking all 3 against the Angels from this series. How do you like how the Brewers are playing right now with just 9 to go, man?
I mean, they took care of business. I mean, that's when you're going into a series like that against an Angels team that obviously is not playing particularly well, well, for the last several years, but this year too. But when you go into that series, and it was maybe a little less drama. I mean, obviously not last night was standing, but for the most part, it's been they get a lead, they keep the lead. In the first 2 games, it was they expand the lead. Like that's kind of what you want to see in a series where you're kind of outclassing another team, especially at home. I mean, but as the Phillies kind of gained a little ground. I mean, the Cubs are still playing well. I mean, to be able to just go do that's very important as you get ready, now they're gone, but you head out on your last road trip of the regular season. So I think it's just important to be able to kind of come out and take care of business and do it in kind of a workmanlike way.
So we got Quintana on the injured list, although it doesn't sound too serious and such. But I don't know if that would affect playoff availability, the whole 4th man rotation sort of thing. But it sounds like Robert Gasser's. I mean, Pat Murphy the other day said, I think you'll see him soon. Would he be playoff eligible then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if you're in the organization, I mean, the only issue with whether people are or not is you have to be in the organization by the end of August.
Okay.
That was the whole Josh Donaldson thing a couple years ago because he was signed like it was like August 31st.
Gotcha.
And that was kind of the case this year with Luis Urias, who is now playing in AAA with Nashville, where he would be eligible because he joined the organization on the last possible day you can to be playoff eligible, which is the end of August. So, yep. Yeah, Robert Gasser certainly would be.
Okay. Well, would you expect him to be on? I mean,
I don't know.
I feel like I want him to get some work at the major league level beforehand.
Right. I mean, to me, the interesting possibility with Robert Gasser is not necessarily as a starter. It's kind of as a multi-inning reliever, from the left side. And, he had such a good introduction to the majors last year, but that was 15 months ago.
Yeah. Something
like that. So you're right. I think you definitely want to have some success, even if it's, he joins the team, say, Sunday, and he's there for the rest of the season. Like, if he gets that last week and he has a couple outings where he looks good, well, maybe then there's something to that because I think there's definitely a potential role there as a multi-inning guy. It's kind of been talked about that, for assuming the Brewers, get the buyout, past the wild card round to the DS, it's the best of 5, and with the way the schedule lines up, as Dominic Cotroneo said last week with you, you only really need 3 starters.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Isn't that a unique thing that the Brewers have with their bullpen is that they're going to have possibly multiple guys that can give you a couple innings when you throw in an Ashby, you throw in maybe if a DL Hall comes back or a Robert Gasser, and then if you throw in Miz in there and maybe that's a unique thing that I don't think a lot of teams have, right?
It is. It's just something different that they can go to, if they need it, depending on the situation. It kind of maybe allows you to be a little bit more aggressive with how you utilize your starters where if there's a day where, say for Brandon Woodruff, for example, if it's just, he gets through 3 or 4 innings and you can kind of tell it's just maybe not quite clicking, you can kind of pull that lever as opposed to, well, we kind of need you to get through 5 here. And then, there's just such smaller margin of error in the postseason.
So with these 9 games left to go here, we're at 94 wins. I think it's fair to say, I don't want to jinx it, but I feel very confident they're probably at least going to get 97 and set the franchise record, right? I mean, just 3 more wins.
So.
3 more wins here.
If they don't win 3 games in the next
9,
little over a week,
yeah,
we're probably not going to be feel good going into the playoffs,
right? But nonetheless, I mean, I know there's still some hope for some fans hitting 100, which it's a cool round number, but I don't think that's the biggest thing here with this ball club right now, but. Offensively, what do you make of, especially in these last couple of days, Isaac Collins has not been getting ABs. Blake Perkins is beginning starts in left field, center field, and Jackson Cheerios going over to left field here. Isaac Collins, fantastic, great player for what he's done for this year. But defensively, there's just something about Blake Perkins that makes me feel like I've got a nice warm blanket around me. Even like it was the other day, it was a solo shot home run. He just like casually went there and just casually tried to reach over and grab it. I mean, he didn't get it, missed it, but still it was just, gliding like a gazelle out there. There's just this comfort level.
Right, and that's what he brings to the table. I mean, Blake Perkins is an elite defender. I mean, the bat, kind of comes and goes for him. I mean,
it's a bonus if you get offense.
Right,
from
and
him,
he's the kind of guy, I think we saw it in August, where if he gets a start or two a week, offensively that's fine, but he's not the kind of guy you probably want making 4 or 5 starts a week, just because you're not going to necessarily, unless he's on a hot streak, get much offensively. But it's just a balance. I think it's just a balancing act that Pat Murphy's trying to figure out here. Of Isaac Collins, who is he's no slouch in left field, but at the same time, if you can get elite defense in center field. You want to have that. And I think you saw it last night, even just with that big catch he had. Yep, that kind of was the turning point of the game.
I mean, you mentioned I don't know if you saw this, but MLB.com a few days ago did their Cy Young predictions, or not Cy Young, Gold Glove predictions. They had Isaac Collins winning it in left field for the National League.
Right, it's been an interesting story for him because he's not an outfielder by trade. He played a lot of infield, in the minors, so he's kind of had to learn this on the fly. And sometimes with Isaac Collins on left, it kind of looks a little wonky, but he generally, he makes catches. He's gotten a lot better on the routes he takes and stuff like that. So, but I mean, this is a Brewers defense that once again, just especially in the outfield and up the middle, it's very, very strong. That's how they, that's something that they've really kind of leaned on to, be a cornerstone of how they try to go win games.
Not a ton of at-bats as of late here for Rhys Hoskins either. I mean, but we kind of knew that, I think
he, when he came back, he kind of knew, hey, I'm coming back into a team that, Andrew Vaughn's, even though, he wasn't going to continue to hit like he did in that first month or so he's with the team, but, he's still come through with some big at-bats. Jake Bauers has been hot, so he's gotten some against righties, and that's, I think Hoskins, you're just kind of seeing right now more in kind of pinch hit duty. If there's a spot in the 5th or the 6th inning where, hey, there's a couple runners on, and, he might pinch hit for Joey Ortiz.
Right. Yelich got his 100th RBI last night. 1 home run away from getting 30. And I was looking at this a couple days ago. Christian Yelich's career numbers each season is just like a fascinating thing to kind of look at. I mean, you look at his Marlins days. I mean, he wasn't a big power. We've talked about that. You've talked about that quite a bit. And then, when he comes to the Brewers, and then, you look at, he's only had a couple of 100 RBI seasons. When you think about it, I think the last one was his 18 season, because even in 19 he didn't have he would have if he didn't get hurt. Right. He had 44 home runs, but I think he had 97 RBIs. But then, you look at the averages. I mean, even last year, batting average was over 300. Not a lot of home runs. This year, he's the power guy, but the average is down. He is such an interesting offensive career for Christian Yelich.
Right. It always seems like, every year kind of just tells a story.
Yeah.
And this year, you're right. You mentioned the average, the on-base percentage is down a little bit, maybe not stealing as many bases as he has, but he's providing something that, I think you can make the case the Brewers need more, and that's power. I think with how this team is constructed, I think you're fine with maybe sacrificing a little bit of average and on base and a couple steals to get more pop in the lineup, because you're kind of getting that other stuff from other players.
Right. And I was just kind of going through all that stuff yesterday, or it might have been a couple days ago, and I'm like, dang, but then it's like a what if after that 19, because then it's just like, okay, 2020 was COVID, it was a shorter season, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't have thought, I think at that time, I'm like, okay, knee fracture, big-time injury. I think he probably would have won MVP if he finished off that season. But did it really affect his career for a few years after that? That's the big what if and unknown.
Yeah, I think it's possible, and I don't know if he's ever really said. And it's one of those things where even if he didn't think it did, it might have. But it's just been kind of such an interesting journey, because then there was kind of a period where, I don't know if it was just the confidence in that knee or what, but he was just more of a slap hitter than a power hitter. And I think Brewers fans have kind of taken that trade off, because he kind of got back the last couple of years to being at least he's productive kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Even if the power's not there, he still 15 home runs, but that he's kind of almost seemed like it was a bit of a sacrifice of power for average.
Mm-hmm.
And look, as long as he was out there like being productive, like you kind of like, okay, you take that. But
right,
this year, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't think he had really any of these years left in him.
Right.
As far as the power goes.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing, I mean, he's just staying healthy. It took him some time. You remember a month and a half of the year, just how poor his numbers were.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just took some time to adjust to being a DH.
Mm-hmm.
When you're used to being out in left field every day, and now you're getting 4 at bats, and it's kind of like, well, what do I do with my time now?
Yeah,
like that takes time. I mean, there's being a DH is kind of a unique challenge. When what are you doing when you're not in the batter's box?
Yeah, how do you stay focused into the game, right? I mean,
and I think it just took him some time to kind of figure out what to do with himself,
mm-hmm.
for the rest of the game when he wasn't, in that batter's box.
And I mean, this is his third highest home run total of his career too. I mean, there's only been 2 other times he's hit 30 or more, and it's 18 and 19. So, but it's such a, I don't know how else to describe it other than weird, kind of interesting type of career path that he's had so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'll be a Hall of Fame type of career path, but for Brewers Hall of Fame,
right.
Absolutely.
If this continues and he gets a few more of these, is he the next guy that gets his number retired? I think it's very possible. Like right now, he's kind of the big, to me, he's kind of like that's the most likely option.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I think if at some point here the Brewers, and this isn't necessarily all on him, but still it's going to be connected. If the Brewers pair any sort of additional postseason success with it,
mm-hmm.
if they were to make a World Series,
mm-hmm.
like then suddenly, this is someone that won an MVP, could have won 2, and is kind of putting up numbers and was a part of rare team success that reaching a level that this team really only had one other time.
I'll give you a what-if question. Brewers win the World Series this year. Christian Yelich, obviously the season he has, but postseason he was fantastic. Let's kind of say like almost a Braun 11 kind of postseason sort of thing.
Let's hope for
cleaner.
Yeah,
Let's just say cleaner.
No gummies.
In terms of Brewers' legacy, I don't know if anybody would top Robin Yelich. When you think about best player of all time, it's still Robin Yelich. But would Yelich be number 2 over maybe a Paul Molitor or something like that? I mean,
it would be 2 or 3, I think, in there. I mean, those two still had longer careers with the Brewers. They're Hall of Famers. I mean, that's something I know. Molitor kind of had not a great split with the Brewers, so I think there's, maybe it's not quite like with Yount where that those two are just synonymous with each other.
Yeah.
But he's right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if there's anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you can look and like, well, Raleigh Fingers, his numbers are higher, but he wasn't a Brewer very long.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing, like a little bit more longevity for Yelich, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would say he would be in that conversation. I wouldn't put him above, maybe not quite yet put him above Molitor,
mm-hmm.
but he would be right there.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question, because Miz is getting the start tonight. Can he do anything in his last, let's say 2 starts probably, at most? Can he do anything in these next 2 starts to secure a spot in that starting rotation for the postseason?
Could be, but I don't think it was going to be. It would be for the NLDS because, as we said, with the way the schedule works out,
you could do the 3.
You could do the 3, even though they'd like to give Brandon Woodruff a little more rest when they can. But I mean, that wouldn't be up. That
because there's no way you take Priester out, even though he's
right.
I mean, this guy. In a few years, could we say I'm excited to see his trajectory now going forward? I mean, he's setting the bar really high right now. But I mean, could we could be talking about it right now. Like I feel like if Major League Baseball awarded best trade, you got 2 options with Priester and maybe Vaughn as part of that. But I mean, I'm curious to look back at this trade in a couple years to see where Priester's at, and just kind of throw the question out there: did Matt Arnold just completely fleece everybody with that move?
Could be. I mean, I think the on the Red Sox end, the return was a little bit better as the year went on, just because some younger guys started really to play better. But just looking at it strictly from the Brewers' perspective, I mean, what more could you have asked for?
Yeah.
Back in April when they made the trade, and people were like, well, who's that? And it took a little bit for him to kind of maybe find his footing a little bit, but I mean, the guy hasn't lost in how long?
19 straight wins, I think they said, every start that he's had right now. Now he hasn't had 19 wins, but the team has won. Yeah.
So that's what a starter's job is, or
Yeah,
a bulk,
19th
or
consecutive
a few
victory.
of them I know were he wasn't the starter, but he was the bulk pitcher because there was no opener. But still, that's your job.
Right.
You give your team a chance to win,
Well,
and he's done that.
Another pitcher I want to get your thoughts on. We've been talking about guys who could give you multiple innings in that, but we saw him the other night, Eric Fetty, and I saw Dominic's numbers that he tweeted. Was he one right-handed hitters are 1 for 18 against him now? I don't know if he's got a role with the playoff roster, but I mean he's given you something to think about a little bit.
He's been sneaky valuable because he's kind of been, I don't say a mop-up guy, but he's a guy that they, if they're down a couple runs, they're putting him in there and say, hey, keep it, try to keep it close. Mm-hmm. And a guy that kind of keeps you from having to go to maybe some of those higher leverage guys in those spots. Mm-hmm. Now in the postseason you probably will, just because again there's more off days in there, so you can kind of get away with it. Mm-hmm. But no, honestly, he's already done more than I expected him to do. I was expecting like the Dallas Keuchel thing last year, where he made a couple starts and then and a month later you forget he was on the team.
Right.
Like he would be the guy that if you were doing, like Immaculate Grid, he would be like, oh yeah, that's right, Eric Fetty pitched for the Brewers for a week or two. But no, he's come in and he's done all you could have hoped for, which is he's 8 innings and he's been pretty good in those innings.
Pretty much just throwing the sweeper, right?
Pretty much. I mean, that's
but it's working.
As I say, that's kind of the Brewers' mentality when it comes to pitching. A lot of times, it's like, look, what do you do well? Mm-hmm. Let's build off that. I brought this up before, but that's kind of reminiscent of the whole Ulysses Chassin thing, where it's like, look, your slider's really good. Well, guess what? We're going to have you throw the slider more, and then we're going to kind of build everything else you do off that. Mm-hmm. And he's been able to provide quality innings and help that bullpen kind of stay a little more rested.
Mm-hmm. If Trevor McGill can't go, because it seems like they're not. I mean, there's a little apprehensiveness when you read between the lines from Pat Murphy and that. Let's say he can't go in the postseason, first round or whatever. Is it as simple as Uribe slides into that closer? Does Nick Mears move to that? Because Nick Mears has been pitching in some high leverage situations. How do you think they handle the back end of that?
I think last night you saw that they kind of did it a little bit more matchup wise when it came to it was Abner Uribe in the 8th when there was a set of righties that came up. Like I could see them trying to go mix and match with like him and Koenig, maybe righty lefty, just depending on how it lines up. Mm-hmm. So I mean that would be something I would think of first and foremost. But you don't know. I mean, I think Uribe, if it was all things being equal and just like they just wanted to designate who's our 9th inning guy. I think I would probably lean Uribe more than Koenig, even though both of them they can. They can have some bouts of wildness, but I think I would still trust Uribe a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's. I'm glad you brought that up with the matchup part. Could Ashby kind of even be involved in that a little bit?
He could. I mean, that's why. He's kind of been deployed more in like a 5th, 6th inning, multi-inning guy thing, and this kind of goes back to the whole Gasser thing, where if he shows something there, I mean, the other guy I think that's important to this is Rob Zastryzny. Just as a lefty, kind of being that matchup guy. I still think the Brewers ideally want to employ Aaron Ashby as like a multi-inning guy, as opposed to that straight up, hey, there's 2 lefties coming up this inning, let's throw him here. So if Zastryzny, I mean, he's been fine. Like he hasn't done anything that would give you pause. But if he's that guy in like the 5th and the 6th, if there's a if it's you're in the playoffs, you're playing the Phillies, and it's Schwarber and Harper up this inning, and you may say, "Oh, let's go Zastryzny this time, so that way we've got those other guys the next time through." Kind of thing.
Right. But how big is it, really quick here, that they did get Nick Mears back in time for the postseason?
Big. I mean, he's someone that the team trusts. I mean, he kind of has some some home run things that kind of come and go with him, but I mean, he's been very good in tough spots. Mm-hmm. And just getting another guy I think you trust back is going to be important. A veteran guy with some postseason experience pitching, so it's helpful.
Right.